yourself. So now the point is that you assume that you know yourself, but I submit that you do not know yourself. Then, so why should I know myself? That question is. So why not just continue with the imaginary self that I am taking myself to be? So why not, there is a life associated with the so-called imaginary self. You call it imagined self. Let us agree for the point of argument that it is imagined self, not the real self. It's all right, it is going on all right. Why should I know myself? Why should I know myself? The real self, why should I know? So, to understand the need for knowing the self and how to go about it, it is not like knowing anything else. Suppose you want to know something, you go to a university, there are 100 branches of knowledge available there. You can choose any one of them and study and know it. That method is not going to work here. And therefore it is not self-knowledge, it is self-inquiry. You have to inquire into the self. So there is the question, why should I inquire into self at all? In the first place, why should I inquire into myself? To know yourself, why should I know myself? Because the self that you take yourself to be is not the real self. It is the false self. It is an image. It is not the real. So that means what? The people are living the life of the shadow self. This situation is a very grave situation. You have to really consider it, look into it. Then comes the question, why should I look into it? I have other things to do. And I have more important things to do. My time is very, it has many demands. And therefore, why this self-inquiry? What is the reason for it? So, to appreciate the importance of self-inquiry, we have to examine human existence. I was looking at this topic called human existence. It may sound a bit pessimistic, but I would suggest you keep an open mind. Don't give any label to it, either pessimistic or optimistic. Don't give any label to it. Like once I was talking with a professor from Osmania University, and we were going and we were discussing a few things. He was asking and I was saying. Then, so one of the noble truths of Bhagavan Buddha that came for discussion, the first noble truth, is Sarvam Dukkham, very simple sounding noble truth. Everything in this universe is suffering only, nothing but suffering. That is what he says, and that is considered as a noble truth. Then the professor tells me, Swamiji, this sounds very pessimistic. Then I told him, you are a very learned man. I would advise you, don't give any label to it. Let me not say, Buddha is a very optimistic. You better don't say Buddha is pessimistic. He is making a statement. You try to look at it with an open mind. That is what I am submitting to you. Let us look at our lives. Let us look at the human existence. There is so much pain in people's lives. We somehow manage to mitigate the physical pain because the medical advances are there and therefore the physicians are available. They advise you to take the right kind of medicine, and then there is so much research going on in the pharmaceutical field, and therefore the drugs are manufactured, they are invented and manufactured and supplied very widely, and therefore you can get a pill and so gulp it down and you can manage the physical pain. That is how it appears. That is how it appears. But it is not that simple also. Assuming that physical pain is different from psychological pain, but we don't know how to handle psychological pain. People are suffering a lot from psychological pain. And also, the physical pain, there is so much research going on even on the issue of physical pain even today. Because the human being has yet to master the mitigating the physical pain also. It is not such a settled issue. The reason is, what you call physical pain, is it really different from psychological pain? This is also an issue. Because we are middle-aged people and people who are entering into the old age and other old age issues. So they have to address this issue. The physical pain, is it really different from psychological pain? This is one question. There is another related question. Physical security, is it really different from psychological security? Are there two kinds of securities? One is physical and another is psychological. So you have to think about it. I suggest you may be able to mitigate the physical pain more often than not with a pill. But a stage comes when the pain management entirely depending upon the pill may become a big problem. You may have to develop that inner ability to manage the pain. You may still take the help of a pill, but at the end of the day, when the chips are down, the pill may not serve you all the way. Sometimes the pill may not be serve you at all, even in terms of physical pain. You need to invoke that inner power, the power of knowing the self, the real self. Probably that is required even to manage the physical pain. To give an example, which may sound a bit horrifying, if I can say so. Suppose a person is struck with a cancer. Now, there are two issues there. He is going to die soon. That is the cause of psychological pain. And then there is the physical pain. Now, suppose Vedanta addresses the psychological pain, medicine, the advanced medicine addresses the physical pain. Is it that simple? I don't think so. In spite of wonderful advances in the field of medicine, the pain management, you cannot entirely hand it over to the molecules. So that what is called molecular medicine. Just to take a pill and so the pain is managed. It is not that simple. Even the issues are connected with heart. Cholesterol is there. Cholesterol is a molecule, and in a particular form it can hurt the health. Suppose you apply a different kind of molecule which takes care of that cholesterol molecule. Will it solve the problems associated with the heart ailment? It is not that simple either. Therefore, the physical pain, you need to have some intimation of your real self, even to manage the physical pain. What to speak of the psychological pain? Anyway, I really wanted to point out the psychological pain that people live with, and I did not want to leave physical pain entirely, to leave it alone entirely. I wanted to point out that the self-inquiry is a must in certain situations, even to manage the physical pain. And when it comes to psychological pain, it is the self-inquiry alone that can solve the problem of psychological pain. You see, generally how we live, there is a problem, and there is a affliction, sorrow, and so we strive to solve the problem, and the sorrow ends. Once the problem is solved, the sorrow ends. Is that it? Is that it? Is that how life works with us? Like, I give you an example. I have headache. I take an aspirin. The headache ends. Therefore, the problem is solved. Wonderful. We are happy. But suppose you get the headache next day also. Then you take one more aspirin and it is gone. Suppose it comes the next day, the third day also it repeats. Fourth day also it repeats. Now it is time to look at this headache more seriously. Aspirin is not the solution anymore. If it is one problem, one-time headache, aspirin can solve the problem and it is solved. We are happy. But if it is a repetitive headache, it is repeating itself again and again and again, then you have to look into the issue more seriously. Still you may use aspirin. I am not suggesting you should not use aspirin. Still you may use it, but you have to look into it. You have to go and consult a good physician. You should not rush to a surgeon. He is ready with his scalpel and all that. So you should go to a good physician. And the physician, if the physician refers to the surgeon, then you can go to the surgeon. Therefore, similarly, in life there is a problem. It gives a lot of suffering to the, a lot of psychological pain it causes. And so I have to solve that problem. And therefore I solve it. So the problem ended. But life doesn't work like that. Life is not that simple. In solving this one problem, which has caused so much affliction, we create a few more problems. And then having solved one problem, which is causing so much sorrow to me, I will not be able to live peacefully for any length of time. So many other problems are created in solving one problem. Now I have to solve them. And then I have to solve some more problems. And then I have to solve some more problems. The whole life, we are solving problems only. And the person is ready to die, but he is not yet ready to die because he has a few problems to be yet to be solved. And therefore, so now it is time to look at the whole situation more deeply. It is not just solving one problem. Suppose there is some conflict in married life. So it's a problem. There are a few ways of solving it, and so you solve it. Is that the end of the whole issue? It is not that simple. That if that problem is solved, one more problem will crop up. And now you have to solve that. The whole, I tell you, it is not an exaggeration to say that people live whole life by solving problems only. That is how they live. It is like having a headache every day and taking an aspirin pill every day whole life. That is not a wise way to address that issue. So you have to look deeply into it. Then you may ask me, suppose we come to get some intimation of the real self. By self-inquiry we arrive at it. By some intimation of the real self. Will it solve this problem of human existence? Then the incessant psychological pain is the problem of human existence. Will self-inquiry, will it help in that? Yes. Therefore, there is an urgent need to conduct self-inquiry in people's lives. Then if we look at our lives, there is what is called a contradiction in our lives. Like, we all want to be healthy, but we eat in an unhealthy way. We want to live happily with good health all our life, but our habits, our living habits are all unhealthy. Why this contradiction? Then at home, in office, in our lives, we want peace and love. But what we get conflict, confrontation and hatred, ill will. That is what we get. Maybe some of it we are practicing towards others, ourselves. So we want peace, we get a war. We want health, we get sickness. Why? Because there is a contradiction in our lives. We want to be healthy, but we don't want to live the way that we remain healthy. What is this contradiction? And that is okay. That is a mental weakness. It is a mental weakness that we don't eat healthy. Though we love to remain healthy, we don't eat healthy. It's a contradiction. It is a kind of physical. But come to psychological, how people live their lives. You see, a man and woman, they meet and then they assume that they love each other, and then they get married, and then live together happily for some time, and may give birth to a child or two also. But from then on, the life becomes a life of conflict. It degenerates into conflict. There is so much conflict in in human relations. Between parents and children, there is so much conflict. Till they grow and become independent human beings, the conflict is under wraps, kind of. The moment they come into teenage, the conflict between father and son begins. And once the young man is married, the conflict between mother and son begins. Because there is the classical mother-in-law, daughter-in-law as a conflict that begins. So we want peace and happiness in life, but we end up getting conflict and war and unhappiness in life. What could be the reason for that? Why such a contradiction exists in our lives? And then conflict. Why there is so much conflict in our lives? Conflict means I want something, but I am unable to get it. There is always a goal to be reached, and suppose I fail to reach the goal, there is a conflict within. The conflict is such a psychological thing. It happens whenever I am not what I should be. That is the conflict. I am something, but I am not what I should be. What I should be, that depends upon one's own imagination. So I am not what I should be. That is the conflict. Now you tell me, who is free from this conflict, this inner conflict? When is anybody free from this inner conflict? It looks as if it is ubiquitous. Every human being lives with this conflict almost all his life. Sometimes we wonder, people are trying to escape from themselves. It looks like that. So, suppose somebody is getting married, some distant niece or nephew is getting married far away in some corner of India. People take flights and go to India. Why? Well, they are not needed there. But they rush, they run there. Of course, these airlines, they encourage it because it is business for them. And people make good money, and therefore they are in a hurry to spend it. And therefore they go to India all the way, and they have to meet their friends and relatives and all that. So why there is so much inner pressure to attend these social gatherings? Why? Because left to oneself, probably one is bored with oneself. One cannot stay with oneself, probably. That's why there is an attempt to escape from oneself. It looks like that. Okay, marriage is one example. You see, there is a syndrome like this. In New York, Friday afternoon, the entire traffic is moving away from New York. The traffic going into New York is very thin. Whereas Sunday night or Monday morning, the traffic that is going towards New York is very heavy, and the traffic that is leaving New York is very thin. So when the weekend comes, people want to run away from office place, from home, so they want to run away. They want to go somewhere, away from home and office. When you are running away from home and office, it amounts to running away from yourself. So, and people make money, and when it comes to holidays time, wish you happy holidays. That means holidays have to come, and we have to run away from ourselves, then only we can be happy. Only during holidays we can be happy. Other times we cannot be happy. Why we could be possibly we can be happy during holidays? Because holidays provide an opportunity to run away from ourselves. So it looks as if people are trying to run away from themselves. Sometimes religion also seems to offer an avenue to run away from oneself. It looks like that. We practice religion more often than not as a means of escaping from oneself. Are we doing that? This kind of self-examination or self-inquiry one has to conduct into one's life. Then there is a thing called self-centered activity. You see, life is activity. As long as there is life in the body, there will be activity. Life and no activity, it is a contradiction. Life means activity. Therefore, that means we will be pursuing some activity or the other. We remain active. Maybe a little less when we are not so well, but mostly we remain active as long as we breathe. That is how the activity is intricately connected with our existence. So that being so, this activity that is there all our life, it is a self-centered activity. That is the kind of activity with which we live. Self-centered means the entire activity is originating from the ideas of me and mine. The me and mine syndrome, that is how they call it. Me and mine syndrome. Means every activity has its origin in the sense of me, the egoity. So the body-mind identified self, the small self, that is the ego. And every activity has its origin in this me. And every activity has its origin in the sense of mine, my house, my family, my wife, my children, my bank account, my career, my social status, my name and fame. In the case of some Swamis, it could be my ashram, my sishyas, my status as a guru. So I am including the Swamis also, so that the Grihasthas can feel comfortable. Therefore, this sense of me and mine is the single origin of all activity in life. Okay? What is this sense of me and mine? It is mostly or almost entirely defined by desires and fears. That is how it is defined. So the things that I desire and the things I am afraid of, those two, desires and fears, sometimes also called raga, dvesha. Raga is a kind of desire, dvesha is akin to fear. So this is the two major mental activities. The primary mental activities are desires and fears. And the cognition, which is the perception, and then the conception or the inference, etc. All that mental activity, the process of mentation and intellection, is made subservient to the desires and fears. That means the faculty of cognition, it subserves the desires and fears. I cognize things only to desire them or to feel afraid of them. So like that it happens. Otherwise, the faculties of cognition and conception or inference are marvelous faculties. But now they serve these two things, the desires and fears. So we cognize only to become afraid of. We cognize only to desire. That is how it becomes life. So the desires and fears. And now all activity is originating from desires and fears. And desires and fears together, they define this egoity, which is the me and mine syndrome. That is how it is. The whole life is functioning on that basis. I am sure you are able to see what I am saying. You see, there is a thing called self-interest or ego's interest. And all interest is desire. All activity springs from that self-interest. And then there is activity arising from self-concern. I am afraid whether I will be able to hold on to things that I call mine. I will remain the me, which is the me. It will continue the same way. So this me, mine. And so there is a thing called self-concern. Always afraid of the future. Always projecting the things of the future and then become afraid of that. And living with a sense of insecurity. So invest a lot of money in securities and remain perfectly insecure all life. This is how we live. And then take all kinds of insurance and remain insecure. So that insecurity, if I say fear, it may sound as if something distant. Like you see an evil spirit and get afraid. Or you step up on a serpent and then become afraid. I am not talking of that kind of fear. That is there anyway. But that incidental, comes and goes. Occasional it is. Whereas the insecurity, it is not occasional. It is a constant background. We are very insecure people. Therefore, these desires and fears, the self-concern and self-interest, that drives our life. This is what I mean by self-centered activity. You see, I tell you how. It is as if everybody is standing at a line. A line. You just imagine a line, and I am standing at that line. All the things which I have already acquired and accumulated, presently I am enjoying all those things. They are all on this side of the line. And I am standing at the line. And then I am looking at things which are on the other side of the line. And what are those things? The things that I desire, the wealth that I covet, the things that I have to accomplish, which I have not yet accomplished, but I must have them. Without them, there is no happiness in life. And therefore, they are all on the other side of the line. You got the model? Now, the things which are on this side of the line, those were the same thing which were on the other side of the line earlier. Those were the same things which I looked at with that coveting, covetousness, with that desiring attitude. I looked at them and I worked for them, that activity rising out of that inner desire. So I worked for acquiring them and for pulling them towards this side of the line, and I succeeded. And they are all on this side of the line. Like for example, a hefty bank balance, a big house, and a wife and children. If it is a lady, they have a husband and children. So, and then they are all on the other side of the line. But one after the other, all of them came to this side of the line. And that means we were pushing this line further and further and further. The most amazing thing in life is, even after pushing the line a bit ahead, still we stand at that line, and we are already disappointed and dispirited, kind of disappointed with the things that are on this side of the line. They have all become part and parcel of the monotony of our existence. They do not enthuse us anymore. And we are looking at the things on the other side of the line still, trying to push the line a little ahead. This is how we are living. Whole life we are living like this. Am I getting the picture right?
Yes.
Or am I exaggerating?
Got it.
I think I am presenting the human situation rather objectively. This is how we are living. And then, what is the role that religion plays in our lives? So, you see, the wealth, acquiring wealth and enjoying the pleasures, that doesn't solve the problems of human existence. In fact, they contribute to the human predicament. And religion is supposed to solve the problem of human predicament. Does it? Does it? Sometimes people think politics will solve our problems. No, did the politics solve our problems? No. Then religion should be able to solve our problems. So people have to look into that also. They have to look at themselves. This is the self-inquiry. So I practice so much religion. Did it solve this fundamental problem of desire and fear? Did it help me to ignore what is all there on the other side of the line so that I can remain at peace? And I can be happy with what I have, with what I already possess. Did the religion help in this regard? Sometimes what happens, the social ethos, it doesn't help in this situation at all. The social ethos, it conditions our lives in such a way that you have to be ambitious, you have to be greedy, you have to acquire more than what already you have. That is called progress. Then only you can be happy. With what you have, you cannot be happy. You should have more, then only you can be happy. This kind of social conditioning is there. This is as society describes a successful person in a particular way. And this is called social morality. So, social morality is no morality at all. It makes you ambitious, competitive, and a cutthroat kind of attitude it cultivates in us, and it makes us very egoic people. Therefore, the social ethos doesn't help at all. Then coming to religious ethos, if the religion is not understood properly, not practiced properly, first you have to understand and then practice. If it is not done properly, if you go by the religion of the masses, the popular religion, it only promotes more of covetousness in us. You desire more things. Religion seems to tell you that not only you have to desire the things of this world, there are a few other things above. You have to desire them. And religion almost puts an imprint, such a powerful conditioning in the mind that unless you go to a place called heaven, you cannot be happy.